UN judge jailed for keeping housekeeper as slave. It's like, the UN. Ah, of course. A United Nations judge, you know those people that are meant to like uphold human rights and stuff, has been jailed for 6 years and 4 months for forcing a woman to work as a domestic slave. Oh, well, as a woman. Oh, well, that's fine. That's their natural state. Lydia Mugambi, 50, was studying for a PhD in law at the University of Oxford when studying in law and didn't know that slavery was illegal. Looks like someone's failing that course. Discovered that when, at the University of Oxford, when police discovered she had a young Ugandan woman at her home carrying out unpaid work as a maid and nanny. Mugambi, who is also a High Court judge in Uganda, was jailed at Oxford Crown Court on Friday after she was found guilty of modern day slavery offences in March. In sentencing, Judge David Foxton told the defendant she showed absolutely no remorse for her actions and she had looked to forcibly blame the victim for what happened. Fascinating. Body camera footage showing Mugambi telling police, "I even have immunity," as they met. Oh, interesting. Mugambi fraudulently arranged a visa for the woman, but it stipulated she would be paid to work as a private servant at the diplomatic residence of John Mugerwa, Uganda's former deputy high commissioner, based at the country's embassy in London. Prosecutors say Mr. Mugerwa sponsored the victim's visa, knowing she would actually work in servitude for Mugambi. In return, Mugambi would provide him assistance in relation to a separate court case in Uganda in which he was a defendant, the court was told. The trial held. So basically, this guy, like, basically paid her in a slave so that she would use her powers to get him off charges back in Uganda. I love Africa. I see why Africa Chan is so obsessed with the place. The trial heard Mugambi paid for the victim's flight and picked her up from the airport, but the young woman then became a slave at the judge's home in Kidlington, Oxfordshire. Mr. Foxton described it as a very sad case as he outlined Mugambi's legal accomplishments, including her work in the protection of human rights. In in a written statement read to the court by prosecutor Caroline Hohe KC, the victim described living in almost constant fear due to Mugambi's powerful standing in Uganda. The woman, who cannot be named for legal reasons, probably because back in Uganda her family would probably be in a lot of trouble, said she can't go back to Uganda due to fear of what may happen to her and added that she may never see her mother again. Ms. Hohe said Mugambi exploited her victim by taking advantage of her lack of knowledge about employment rights and misleading her about why she came to the UK. She said there was a clear and significant imbalance of power within the relationship between Mugambi and her victim. Well, yeah, I know there is a bit of a power imbalance between master and slave. Treated as worthless. The Crown Prosecution Service authorised police to charge Mr. Mugerwa with conspiracy, but he had diplomatic immunity, which the Ugandan government did not waive. Interesting. Mugambi had denied forcing the young Ugandan woman to do household chores and said she always treated her with love, care, and patience. Chief Superintendent Ben Clark of Thames Valley Police said there was no doubt that Mugambi had known she was committing offences. Modern slavery is an underreported crime, and I hope that the bravery of the victim in this case encourages other victims of modern slavery to come forward, he said. A University of Oxford spokesperson said the institution was appalled by its students' crimes. The university is now commencing its own disciplinary process, which has the power to remove students convicted of serious criminal offences, the spokesperson added. And there we are, that's the end of the article. Now, this isn't a unique case. I guarantee you there are hundreds of people living in this situation all over the UK. I know it's a modern country. They basically bring people over who know nothing about the laws and they're like, oh, slavery's totally a thing. Yeah, no, anyway, you sleep in the basement now. Yeah, there was a case like just last year and everything as well. And these are the ones that get caught. I guarantee you there are hundreds of actual slaves in Britain right now. But then you've got places like North Africa, the Middle East, etc., where there's a lot of slaves. There's even slaves in Saudi Arabia and all that as well. See all the big rich Muslim countries with the white robes and Ferraris. There's tons of slaves in those countries as well. Yeah, slavery never really went away. The Barbary slave trade was one of the biggest in the world, where a lot of whites were enslaved, but we don't count because we're Untermensch. But yeah, the fact that it was the UN for a start, that's hilarious. But also the fact it was a human rights judge keeping a literal slave. Like I'm sorry, but that's fucking funny.